point did you or will you stop identifying as a beginner knitter?
For me, there's actually a very clear distinction what's beginner and intermediate or expert knitter, and it's not what you would think. For context, I've been a knitter for 30 years and these days I teach other people how to knit. Distinctions between beginner, intermediate or expert have nothing to do actually with how long you've been knitting or how many projects you've made. It doesn't even matter how many techniques you know by heart. So beginner knitters are people who still need their hand held. They are knitters who find it hard to understand what yarn to choose. It can be really hard to understand when it's appropriate to substitute for different techniques or for different things. Basically, a beginner knitter is a person who doesn't yet have the experience to fully understand how knitting works. Now, for intermediate knitters, there are two criteria that I'm looking at. First of all, intermediate knitters have to be able to read their knitting. No matter what they are knitting, they have to be able to fully read it and fully understand what they've done, notice any mistakes, troubleshoot them, but also the ability to pick up your knitting, look at it and understand what were you doing the last time and how do you need to proceed. And the second very important criteria for an intermediate knitter is that it's a person who understands what is just a personal preference in the knitting and what is a technical requirement for you to achieve the end goal with your knitting. A really good example of this is a case that I saw where a person was claiming that they are an intermediate knitter, but they were really mad at the pattern because the pattern didn't tell them what needle cable length they need to use for that specific pattern. And to me, that immediately tells that that's actually not an intermediate knitter, that's a beginner knitter, because cable lengths are a personal preference. So you can't claim to be an intermediate knitter if you don't understand that some things are just a personal preference. And to be clear, being a beginner knitter or an intermediate knitter isn't a bad thing at all. It's amazing to keep learning new things and new crafts, but it's also really helpful if you can accurately gauge what is your skill level. And for the expert knitters, it doesn't matter if you have tried all of the techniques out there. It doesn't matter if you have knit 100 sweaters or whatever is the wild criteria that people keep throwing around. The only thing that distinguishes an expert knitter is their ability to reliably predict what will be the outcome of their knitting before they have even started. By that I mean that expert knitter will have enough experience and knowledge to know how each fiber will impact the end result, how each construction for sweater will change how it wears. It doesn't mean that experts won't make any mistakes. We absolutely all make mistakes. That's not the point of this. Just that expert knitters really understand how knitting works and what is important in knitting. They can use that knowledge to get the best outcome for themselves.